Hi guys, how you doing today? I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this episode of the Car Weekly Roundup from. Now let's go back to history. Today is 6th December 2025, but on the same date, 6th December 1976, there's a lady called Katie O'Neill. Now, Katie O'Neill set a woman, what they call the women's land speed record. Yes, the women's, but what was she doing? She was driving a hydrogen peroxide powered three-wheeled vehicle or rocket car called the SMI Motivator. She did this in the Alvord Desert in Oregon, USA. Now, this lady, she was deaf. Technically, she was deaf. And later on, she went on to grow to be a stunt woman. So she would actually be doing those stunts. But she did a record speed of 825 kilometers per hour. Now, I've seen guys here. You can imagine a woman. And you know what happened? She would have gone faster. But you know she had a contractual obligation to not go faster than a man. Hey. She had a contractual obligation to not go faster than what a man could do. So because they had reserved that spot for a man, and then of course, still 6th December 1955, Volkswagen registered their trademark officially. Now, kakati futumanyo was a trademark ziliao. Nangeda just saying for the love of cars. Of course, the copyrights then kubana zonzi ina ne trademark take you. Sometimes we be there thinking that trademarking your brand is not as important, but it's actually very important. So what's trademarking? If you have a mark, let me see. This tab that I have here is a Samsung, and they have their logo here. Their logo is here. Now, this logo, Samsung, this is their trademark. It's a global trademark. You cannot use this on anything unless you have permission. And normally the permission, you have to pay for the permission. So the Volkswagen Group, I don't know how big the company was in 1955, but the Volkswagen Group registered their Volkswagen trademark in Germany in 1955. Yeah, in 1955. Kati, and that of course, Kati, mujimanye your logo yawe V and the W, right? So that's what we call a trademark. Kati ne wano, to in our companies, there are here companies that have a trademark. You know, some of the strongest trademarks we would have had in Uganda would have included Safi. You remember almost everyone that is in my age group, yanyoku Safi. Kasafi kali kawo ma basekata wa bali ba brandi kidinga busafi buba buitingana mu nyumba buti. You people, you enjoyed life when you were young children. Mine and the fridge. Mukuru now mine a fridge. Nemo mute ko mine a fridge. You are a brandy kid. Mine and so and so that becomes a year jaga ninga mabara mina fridge ngamwene ne budo muntu bateka mu ice. Anyway, and then of course in North America, so you see North America is the northern part of America, and you see these guys have what they call the federal government. And in North America, all the states standardized what they call a vehicle license plate, a general number plate. They standardized the size. Ntigenda kubera 6 by 12 inches. But you know they did this in 1955. Welcome to the weekly roundup. Now, a lot of things are happening in the country. We have changed. Right now, we can actually report news where passenger motorcycles are involved. You know, the word passenger motorcycles has to stick in my mind. We renamed it passenger motorcycles. So we are going to be Mr. Komita pleaded naga abanange mukomi wa mauli agari mu motorcycles. Kakati now, we have two categories of motorcycles. They are private motorcycles and then passenger motorcycles. So we'll be reporting on all. But we have some good news. You know what they call the SGR standard gauge railway? This is the railway that's going to go through Uganda and then to Kenya. So what happened? Uganda and Kenya have been struggling. They have been struggling about what to use. You know, Kenya is using the Chinese standards. And Uganda is using the European standards, Western standards. We're using mostly the UK standard, but the Kenyans are using the Chinese. That includes things like the tracks, the bridges, the designs. That includes the signaling and the power systems, the rolling back compatibility, safety operations, station and communication standards. Chinese are very, very powerful. So whatever they have come up with, we'll see it when they're done. But they have come up with a standard way to make sure that it works for both Uganda and Kenya, even though we are in different systems. Now, the SGR is actually in development. Uganda has already completed land acquisition in 9 of the 12 districts where they need to get land. That includes Mukono, so the train will be going through Mukono. Now, it's only Wachiso and Kampala where they have not yet bought land, but they need to buy land where the railway is going to go to build train stations and stuff like that. Yeah, so once this is done, and then tujja kuba tusobola okulinnya train ne tutulambwe ne tugende Kenya. Fabamu, we shall be driving our cars even then. For the love of cars, Uganda. And then, of course, Kenya is planning to spend $1.5 billion on upgrading what they call the Northern Corridor. Now, the Northern Corridor is the highway, the part of the highway that links Kenya to Uganda, to Rwanda, and then South Sudan. So, and what they are going to do is they're going to modernize major sections of that corridor, yeah? And of course, this is where you drive, the guys that drive cars from Mombasa and Ngabazile Kampala, that's where they pass, Rwanda, Sudan. So they are going to modernize major, and then of course, they are going to put a greenfield highway, 60 kilometers, yeah? Jinja Busesa, and then Busesa Malaba, Bagenda Zifula dual carriages, and then Busitema and Busia roads. I think that's good for us because what's that's going to help us, because we had very tiny roads. That's a complaint that everyone is throwing around. So, but at least the part that Kenya is going to work on is going to be dual, and then of course they're going to be modern. So begin akuwanga bine bya fibi tubi nawa nakate bikadde. Still break it down, helping every driver in the town. For the love. And then of course in Uganda, this is on the Lira Kamdin highway at around 11 a.m. Yesterday, Friday. There happened to be a fatal crash near Ebenezer University. Now, Ebenezer University. Have you ever heard of the university called Ebenezer Mokukagwa? That's a new one. So it involves 3 vehicles. One was a my car, a small car, and a passenger motorcycle, and then of course a Toyota Hiace, which is a taxi. So what happened was that the saloon car was getting off the road. It made a left, an abrupt turn without signaling, and then the passenger motorcycle crashed into them, and then it went hayway, and then the Hiace came and ran over the passengers, the motorcyclists. Yeah. And then, of course, when you look at such an accident, you know that it could have been avoidable. The vehicles that were involved, the Mica is digital, number plate UA899BD. The motorcycle was UFG 8387U, and then the Hiace taxi, UBR 493D. Now, of course, accidents like this where a motorcycle can come and crash into you, I've told you guys time and again, when you're going off the road, indicate meters before, probably let's say 600 meters before you go off, because however reckless a motorcyclist can be or a cyclist can be, they will at least see the indicator once, even when they don't want to really see. One thing you need to understand is that most of the motorcyclists think they are invisible. They think that you see them. That's what they know. They know that you cannot knock them. So you need to be very vigilant, and always when an accident, a bigger car and a smaller one are involved, the bigger car takes the blame. Of course, the drone will be released, and then the small car person will have to pay for his sins. Be careful as we go into the festive season. And then, of course, Gravity Omotuju. survived an accident on 3rd December in Buhweju district. In Buhweju, they were driving a super custom from what I've seen, and so the car veered off the road. Nobody died. There were minor injuries, no fatal injuries. So we but never wona emoroka yo yaweddewo, and I don't know why I still feel sad that the car is no longer drivable. We also had a member of this community, a car that I inspected. The car rolled over. It rolled over. He had just he ran out of battery. Someone jump started him, and now atandika bwate moroka, and then he was going. A minute later, the car had rolled, and just like that, the car has gone. But sorry about that gravity, and sorry about that our member Frank. Sorry. Mukama akudizewo fune moroka ate singa neyo obunene. Helping every driver in the town. And then of course Uganda introduced special UN WFP plates. Now the UN stands for United Nations, and WFP stands for World Food Program. Now these are trucks and cars that belong to the UN that will be traveling around giving food, relief food. I don't know. Ngamu COVID tebatuwa. Hangamba World Food Program. It's a World Food Program. Mukovidi ngateba gwemere ya COVID yali erika. Ngabakomere ya bwerere. Oliako murundi gumu n'ogizira. But anyway, so what the government did is that they launched a special humanitarian license plate. Yeah, that is integrated into Uganda's digital registration system, paired with the new WFP emergency fleet hub in Kampala. So what happens is that when they have this special plate, they can enter Congo freely, Rwanda, Burundi, however they want, because it's special humanitarian, it's clear. Other countries have a way of recognizing it, but also here, it doesn't. Is a moroka aba traffic tebajimiriza, aba maje tebayimiriza, sicho? Tebajikwata because it's a special plate. So congrats World Food Program, and of course the Uganda government. That's a major step, PR step. Umanyi PR atava wala okubeera nga you have done something that other people are not doing. So when other countries check for that plate, it will be registered in Uganda as a humanitarian vehicle. So baba tebajikwatako, which is a very good thing. And then of course the 12th East African Safari Classic Rally is going to happen in Kenya between the 5th and 13th of December, and they're going to have over 60 plus international drivers, 3,000 kilometers of competition. They're going to be driving through 6 counties, which include Kwale, Mombasa, Kilifi, Taita, Taveta, Makueni, and Kajiado. Yeah. So, and then of course, the cars that are going to be there are only cars that were strictly built before 1985. So any car that is newer than 1985 is not going to be there. It's not going to be there. Yeah, so the event preserves the feel of vintage rallying and is expected to attract more than 110 million global viewers. So they'll be streaming. So if you want to follow, you can Google them, the East Africa Safari Classic Rally. It's only classic cars that are going to be there. Kati moroka yange started naye bampi batesobola gendayo kubanga it's in 1990 chimanyi to started impya kati mu classic rally bateyingira 1985 and below twetaaga tufuneyo gumoroka gwa 1985 tukukole tubirenga kati eyo next year tusobola okuyingira tu competinga kyetaka kubanga kimaka tukiri eri ekimalayo okiteekako ne tabo ne balyoka bakiwulira. For the love of cars Uganda we roll. From dusty roads to dreams we patrol. And then of course South Africa's new vehicle market grew. Mukuru gwa sola malitu chabachisoma grew. Well, it grew by 12.5%. Now what they mean is that they sold more vehicles than they sold in 2024. So they say that they sold 54,896 more new vehicles. Yeah. Kati, that grew, and what made people buy more vehicles is that the fuel prices were lowered, The inflation was lower than 2024. The interest rates were better. You know, the interest rates of borrowing, so people can borrow the car. And then, of course, improved credit rating. So passengers' cars were the most bought. You see how it happens in Uganda that more people are driving newer cars. And it's basically the one reason that is making people drive more newer cars is because the traders are actually accepting people to pay credit. And they give you credit terms where you can pay even up to a year. For the commercial vehicles, someone can pay to up to 2 years. So people are buying more new cars instead of buying old cars, because buying newer cars is actually favorable now. It's easier to acquire those ones. And then, of course, in the US, Donald Trump wants the K cars back in the USA, and then he has even asked his government to remove legal barriers and allow the Japanese-style K cars, tiny, ultra. You remember the car that I reviewed this week? The Bakaita Batya, the Daihatsu Move Kabarage. So those cars, Trump wants those cars. You know, the US is trying to move to make sure that they have cars that are environmental friendly, and the K cars are 660cc and below. You know, Americans are known for driving huge vehicles. The Hummers of this world are all coming. The Tundras, all those cars are coming from the United States. So now Trump is saying, Mumanyi, twagala imotoka zino ezebwera okuyingira twagala imotoka zino ezebwera okuyingira wano era nga twataddeko omusolo mungi. But this is what we're going to do. Let's make sure the Japanese K cars can actually enter the country, and don't take away the legal barriers. Let them pay tax, but the legal barriers are stuff like a car from Japan cannot come because we are manufacturing the same car here. A car from Japan can only be sold here if it is now assembled here. You get things like that. You buy raw materials from here. Those are kind of legal barriers. So Trump is saying, scrap away all those legal barriers and let the guys bring the small cars into the country. And then, of course, there's a fuel economy rule rollback still in the US. The administration reset the national fuel economy standard to 34.5 miles per gallon. By 2031, 50 miles per gallon. You know, it's like someone saying that we want you to make cars that can give us fuel economy of up to 60 kilometers per liter. One in Uganda, kumpi buli moro ko boji gobi obagamba bantu muvuge ne hybrid tezibikola. I don't know if you get what I said. So they had that thing and now they are rolling it back. They are saying, you know what, 50 is too much. Let's do 34 miles per gallon. For the love of cars, Uganda, we roll. And then, of course, there is a way more driverless car that entered a police investigation place. Omanyuba nabera like in Boise, and they're investigating. They have demarcated. Nenga yo Google Map kugamba genda. So that is what the Waymo vehicle did, and then it entered there. But of course, in 15 seconds, nazo zira banega nkoze ensobi wanu wali wabasirikale nechuka negenda. And then of course they're asking, are these things able to handle high risk environments? Bibera wow webityo. For the love of cars, Uganda, we roll. Akarozo ko lunaku gwe guy. You drive every night in full beams. You put those lights that they're like the ones that are pointing in me. Those lights that blind the other fellow drivers. That's idiotic, man. Don't drive in full lights. You guys that drive chigeges, at least the drones, at least the ones that can understand English. I've said this in English because the ones that don't understand English may not be able to understand this. I've said this time and again. Don't drive in high beams. You're blinding other people. The day someone will come at your car like this is the day you know that nobody can stop reggae. And then the tip of the week, guys, buy basic mechanical tools. I've told you time and again. Buy jump starters. Buy spanners, which will be 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16, right? You can even stop at 14. 8, 10, 12, and 14. I have a 17, because 17 also helps around a lot. And then you can buy the boxed ones as well. Zebaita boxy. Ogula in a box in era size ezimu no mukono. And then probably buy a screwdriver, buy a minus driver, right? Have those things with you at all. Buy a tester, an automotive tester, have it in the car. Buy a multimeter, have it in the car. Now someone is going to say, it's the multimeter will help you test to see if your car is charging. The multimeter will probably cost you 20,000 if you buy it from a shop, but every time your battery is tested, it might cost you 2K, 5K. So those are 4 times, and then learn how to use it to test if your car is charging. For the love of cars, Uganda, we roll. From comparison. Okay. And today's comparison, I want to compare someone. This is something I've talked about, but let me compare it. Someone buying a new car versus a used car. Someone was asking me yesterday when we were doing an inspection. Yesterday we bought a Toyota Alphard with one of my people here. And they were asking me, and I told him the car you have is the car that takes you to the next car and the next car and the next car. Me, I never set out to go to the bone and buy my first car. I had a car, someone bought it. I bought a newer car, someone bought it. I bought a newer car, and just like that. And I moved through the ranks to buy a more expensive car and a more expensive car. Now, someone might try to compare. A newer car is better, definitely, because it's new. But even an old car can be made new. In the past 1 month, I have helped 2 people repair their cars to almost perfection, where they were performing very well. Why? Because mechanics can make your car feel old, even when you yourself hadn't yet felt that the car was old. So the comparison is, who should be buying a new car? Who should be buying a Ugandan used car? The people should be buying what they can afford. Don't force yourself to buy a new car if you cannot afford it. Someone was asking me, Arthur, if you're not driving this new car, what would you be driving? I'd be driving the old car that I can afford. Yes! Nzera senga chavuga primo old model yange. Nemu nange mukama akusitura choyina kyagatirako n'ofuna ekirala and like that and like that and like that. Well, thank you very much for being part of this week's episode of the Car Weekly Roundup. I don't take you for granted, the people that are watching this next week or the other month. Thank you very much. We are moving towards making 100,000 subscribers. If you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. You don't lose nothing. Subscribe so that we make 100,000 subscribers. Don't forget, how do we keep this channel running? Through the services I offer you guys. Pre-purchase inspection, pre-sale inspection, post-purchase test driving, diagnosis. Yes, I also sell car trackers, car tracking devices, and car alarms. Every time you buy a service or product from me, you're supporting this work to go on. This episode that you're watching, there is a big team behind there that is making it happen. Be one of the people that is making this episode or the next episode happen. Until next time, guys.